Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. Welcome to another video. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Helps me out a lot. If you like retro gaming, you came to the right place. So I posed a question on Facebook on my Brett Weiss Words page. What super cheap gaming item have you found in the wild? Now, I got a variety of answers and some really interesting answers, and I appreciate all of them. I love hearing about these stories of great finds. You don't find them as much anymore, but there are still finds out there. But back in the day, holy cow, you could find so much stuff for so cheap. And in fact, I found this TurboGrafx for $1 at a garage sale back in the early 2000s. Now you would think something big and electronic-y like this, electronic-y, that's a word, right? You would think they would at least charge $5 or $10, even if they didn't know what it was or thought it was hopelessly outdated or something. But it was $1. I walk up to this garage sale, and in the middle of the driveway, there's a TurboGrafx, and there's no other video games at this garage sale, and everything else is like in the garage or the grass or just on tables. This was by itself in the middle of the driveway, and I said, "How much is this?" And they said, $1. Sold. And this is the TurboGrafx that I've got up on my shelf. That I keep, just for display purposes. The one I play is over there on a CRT television, and this is a great display piece for $1. And a lot of the stuff in my game room were games I got in systems way back in the day when they were just pennies on the dollar compared to today. So that's the example I used of a game or gaming item I found in the wild. And I posed a question to you guys. What game or gaming related item have you found for super cheap in the wild? Now I got a variety of different answers, and I appreciate all of them, I really do, and I'm not complaining about any of the answers. I always love to hear from you guys, and these are really interesting. I love hearing about great finds like this. But I got a variety of answers, and not all of them were necessarily in the wild. Now that's okay, but it kind of reminded me of something I've wondered about for a while. What do you guys consider in the wild? For me, finding a video game or a gaming item in the wild means a pawn shop, a thrift store, a garage sale, a church rummage sale, a flea market, something like that. And you have to leave your house. Finding something in the wild, I don't think is online. Even if it's like Facebook Marketplace, that isn't necessarily, not specifically a video game place, sell all kinds of stuff. But you have to leave your house, I believe, to find something in the wild. You have to go to a place. Now, I don't really consider finding things at a video game store in the wild, because you're going to a video game store. That's not like the Wild West or whatever, where it's just all kinds of stuff and you just happen to run across some games. That's a place specifically set up to sell video games. So to me, that doesn't seem like in the wild. But I know people that do think it is. Just anything you don't buy online is in the wild. If you go anywhere outside of your home and buy something at a physical place, a brick and mortar store or whatever, anywhere is in the wild. So I want to know from you guys what you think is in the wild. Do you have a purist or a strict definition like I do, where it can only be buying from a traditionally non-gaming related place, that just sells all kinds of stuff? Or can it be anywhere outside your house? So I'm going to read off some of the answers I got because they're interesting and because they're not all necessarily in the wild, but I appreciate it anyway. I don't even consider gaming conventions in the wild because you're at a video game con. But that brings to mind, what if you're at a Comic Con and you find a video game? Is that in the wild? What if you're at a flea market, and one of these big flea markets like Trader's Village in Arlington, Texas, that's massive, and they even have booths and even little stores. What if there's a couple of video game stores within that flea market? If you find it there, is it in the wild? I kind of think so, since it's a flea market, but you can say I'm being hypocritical because that's a gaming store within that flea market. What is in the wild to you? But anyway, I'm going to get to the answer. Some of you guys answered my question. What super cheap gaming item have you found in the wild? Jesse Hardesty, a friend of mine who used to run the Oklahoma Video Game Expo, he says, for me, it would likely be the CDX I purchased during the 2004 OVGE. A vendor who had a chain of stores in the area was also quite the collector. He was getting out of the collecting part and was selling off his spare systems. He had like half a dozen CDXs that day, and they included one controller and one PSU for the cost of $40 each. Now, as you know, the CDX is very hard to find today and very expensive. It's a combo Sega Genesis and Sega CD in one, and it was Sega's last gasp effort to try to move their, Sega CDs, to try to continue that format and with the CDX, but it is a rare item because they just didn't produce a ton of them. But he found that at gaming conventions, so in the wild, not so much, but I appreciate the answer anyway, and maybe you guys do consider gaming conventions in the wild. Anyway, so I want to show you guys something I found at OVGE, or a trio of things, for very cheap. You know those, for the Odyssey 2, you know those big box games that have the, the board and the playing pieces and everything along with the cartridge? Like Conquest of the World, like Wall Street Fortune Hunt, the Great Wall Street Fortune Hunt, and like, best of all, The Quest for the Rings, sort of the Lord of the Rings type game, RPG, for the Odyssey 2. These are all factory sealed, and I got those at the Oklahoma Video Game Expo back in the day for so freaking cheap. Now, my brain is playing members with me. I can't remember if I bought them for $20 each, totaling $60, or if I got them for $60 each. I'm pretty sure it was $20 each, because if they were $60 each back in the early 2000s, that would seem kind of expensive, even factory sealed. So I'm pretty sure I got those for $20 each. But whatever the case, they were cheap, and these are factory sealed, and right now I have them for display pieces, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those. But anyway, I just wanted to point out something I got at the Oklahoma Video Game Expo, since Jesse did mention that. A lot of cool stuff at that late lamented show. It was awesome, but not so much in the wild because it's a gaming convention, but you may vary, or you may disagree on that. Chris Hansen says he got a complete in the box Jaguar for $20. It didn't mean much in 2005, but it sure is expensive now. Now, he didn't say where he said he got it, but this next item, he said he got a Panzer Dragoon Saga from Blockbuster when they were dumping their Saturn games for $5. I got so much great stuff at Blockbuster when they were dumping all their stuff. After each console generation would go away, Blockbuster would dump all the rental copies, and sometimes they would have boxes and manuals and stuff, but usually it was just the cartridge or the disc because, they got rid of, the manuals would get lost, or they would use plastic cases or whatever. But is a rental store clearance bin in the wild? You let me know in the comments. Next up is Steven Fernandez. Just recently I found a basis loaded 4 for $5. He doesn't say where, but that's okay. And then he goes, a couple of years ago I picked up Shadow Hearts for $5 off Facebook Marketplace. Is Facebook Marketplace in the wild? You let me know. I don't think so. I think you have to leave your house. Pace Bryson says, I found a copy of Mario's Time Machine for the NES at a thrift store for $5. That's a good deal, and that's definitely in the wild. Those, edutainment titles they don't print as many of those as the regular Mario titles, so good score. Brian Lessig, a good friend of mine, very good supporter of my books and just my career. Awesome, Brian, I appreciate it. He says, I nabbed an almost new Nintendo DS Lite at a yard sale for $5, but I think you have me beaten. Oh well, the dollar TurboGrafx may beat that, but hey, that's still a great fun, and it's definitely in the wild. Thank you for that, Brian. Last but not least, Gary Voigt says, I found a CIB TurboGrafx, hey, at Goodwill for $3 or $4. The picture is somewhere on my Facebook photo timeline. So maybe it wasn't that long ago that he found that, since it was during the Facebook era. All right, so that's definitely in the wild. So just let me know what you consider in the wild. Now, back in the day, like I said, I bought a ton of cheap stuff. One example I cite often is Gunstar Heroes complete and just in incredible condition for $2.99 at FuncoLand when they carried retro games in the late 90s. They would still have Genesis, NES, and Super Nintendo games. I found so much of my collection there. So many of these Genesis games I have, a lot of the rares I bought for so cheap back then. But it was FuncoLand. Not really in the wild, at least not to me. But I'm going to let you decide. Let me know in the comments what you consider in the wild to be. Is it just places that are non-gaming places, like, that don't just sell games, places like thrift stores and garage sales? Or is it anywhere you leave your house? And is online shopping ever considered in the wild, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much, guys and gals, for watching my channel. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for hitting that like button. All is very helpful. We'll talk to you in another video. It's been a lot of fun. I'll be back on here pretty soon, so just stay tuned. Subscribe so you're notified. Ring that bell so you'll know when a new upload is on. So thank you so much, guys. We'll talk to you later.